Hi, I'm Joey from Simon Solutions. Welcome to this presentation of CharityTracker Plus. During the next few minutes, we'll take you through, share with you how the features of CharityTracker Plus may serve you, and along the way, if there's ever an opportunity to answer your questions, please know we're with you every step of the way in making sure that your experience with CharityTracker Plus is the very best that it can be. CharityTracker Plus contains all of the features of CharityTracker Basic, plus outcomes, request referrals, file uploads, and barcode scanning. CharityTracker always maintains the highest level of technology security standards and is now HIPAA compliant. During the next few minutes, we'll take you through, share with you how the features work, and to do so, I'd like to bring on my teammate, Kyle. Kyle?
Hello, my name is Kyle Minkler, and I'm a member of the CharityTracker support team. I very much appreciate your time today to look at CharityTracker. What my goal will be is to demonstrate the CharityTracker system for you, show all of the features, and be sure that you're aware of how it will work. Here today, we're going to be logging into a demo site. Everything we see here in this demo site is bogus. You don't have to worry about seeing any real information. But hopefully this will help to paint the picture as to how CharityTracker can be used at your organization. CharityTracker is a web-based tool. So what you'll need to access the system is a computer, an internet connection, and an up-to-date web browser. Any web browser will do. You could be using Internet Explorer, Google Chrome. I'm using Mozilla Firefox. Even Safari would be an appropriate browser to use CharityTracker in. Your CharityTracker is located at a very secure web address, something.charitytracker.net. That something is up to you, and that could be unique for your organization or unique for your community. We take security and client confidentiality very, very seriously here at CharityTracker. It is our livelihood. We want to be sure that you know that everything you enter into CharityTracker is secure. We employ a lot of the same security methods used with online banking. So if you ever go online to check your account balance or pay a bill online with a debit card or a credit card, all of that information is encrypted as it's sent across the internet. We employ a lot of that same encryption here with CharityTracker. In addition to that, each person that accesses the CharityTracker system, in order to preserve the integrity of the database, is required to use their own login information. They'll use their own combination of email address and password to access the site. Today I'm going to log into this demo site using my email address and password, and here within the system we'll take a look at what we see when we first log in. Up in the top left corner, what you'll see is your name and the agency that you belong to. I'm logging in as Kyle Minkler from my agency called Charitable Organization. On the left side of the screen, you'll see a couple buttons, Search and Add New Case. These are the main two features of the system. And then there's a few colored tabs up in the top right corner. You'll see the white Home tab, the blue My Agency tab, and then Agencies. We try to keep CharityTracker as simple to use and as easy to follow as possible. So you'll see throughout the system these colored tabs and these large buttons to navigate between the screens within CharityTracker. Let's begin taking a look at the white Home tab. On the Home tab, there's a couple things you'll notice. First off, here towards the top of the Home tab, there's a Community Dashboard section. In this blue bar that goes from left to right, you'll see some daily cumulative totals for all of the people that you've served, also the number of acts of kindness, and also a dollar amount. The number of people served represents your neighbors, those clients that you're working with, and that total there will increase each and every day as more people are served. The number of acts of kindness represent any sort of assistance that's rendered to people in need. My agency, maybe we provide a few things. We provide help with utility bills, maybe rental assistance, also food or some sort of direct service from our food pantry. It could be hours of counseling, items of clothing. Any act of kindness will be counted as one act here on the dashboard. And if any of those acts of kindness have a dollar amount associated with it, then this dollar amount on the dashboard will increase as well. We just wanted to show each and every day the impact that you're having on your community. Of course, you can run more detailed reports and get statistics and data out of the system for your agency, and we'll look at that a little bit later. Below the dashboard, you'll see the bulletin board section. The bulletin board has proven to be a very powerful tool for many of the communities that we serve in. It's a great way to communicate and collaborate with the other organizations on your network. Or if you're using this just in-house at your agency, you can use this to communicate with the staff at your agency. No one else in your community would have access to the bulletin board. If you do connect with other organizations outside of your own, the bulletin board can be a great way to post a bulletin about an upcoming meeting, maybe a reminder about an event that's taking place in the community. Or we've heard of this being used after times of disaster. If a storm came through and you wanted to rally volunteers for a cleanup crew to visit a certain neighborhood that had some fallen trees, you could post a bulletin by clicking the Add Bulletin button and say something like, "Volunteers needed. If you have a pickup truck and a chainsaw, please feel free to meet us at the Walmart parking lot tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We're going to be cleaning up some fallen trees that fell down in a neighborhood." A story that stuck with me over the years actually came out of our local community here in Florence, Alabama. There was an elderly woman who visited a local helping agency seeking assistance with some sort of bill, like a utility bill, rental assistance, something like that. Well, in the conversation with the caseworker at the agency, the elderly woman mentioned that she also didn't have hot water at her home anymore. It had been 3 years, her hot water heater had rusted out, and she didn't have a hot shower in her home for a long time. Well, that caseworker who had access to CharityTracker wasn't able to help her directly right then and there. But because she was connected on CharityTracker, she could see if another organization in the community could help. To post a bulletin like that, you just click on the Add Bulletin button. On the screen that appears, you can enter a title and a description. In the description box, you can get as detailed as you want or keep it simple. Below the title and description, there is an area for an expiration date that you can set. This expiration date will automatically remove the bulletin from the bulletin board on that date. Below that, you can opt to send out an email notification along with this bulletin once it's posted. Please note that the default setting is checked to send an email notification. This is helpful because an agency may be a member of your network, but they're not logged in at that particular time, so they can still be kept in the loop via email and respond accordingly. Lastly, we can attach a file. If there was a document that accompanied the bulletin, maybe a meeting agenda or a flyer about the meeting, you can attach it here just like you would attach a file on an email. You click Browse, find the file on your computer, and it will securely attach it to the bulletin. When we're done, we click Add Bulletin, and that bulletin now appears on the bulletin board. Any bulletin has a comment section on the right. You can click Post the first comment and respond to any bulletin that's posted. The person that originally posted the bulletin will see a copy of these comments, and they could respond, answer your question, or connect the dots in any way. I hope that you'll find the bulletin board to be a very powerful tool there for your collaborative. The next tab in the top right I'd like to go to is the blue My Agency tab. Whatever type of organization that you represent, whether it be a nonprofit, a faith-based church or ministry, even a government agency, we use the term in CharityTracker agency to represent your organization. So when you click on your blue My Agency tab, you'll see the name of your organization there, as well as some basic contact information. An agency administrator can edit your agency's contact information by clicking the Edit Agency Information link on the right. That way, your hours of operation, your mission statement can all be as up-to-date as possible. Here is also where you manage the agents at your agency. Agents are those staff members or trusted volunteers that have access to CharityTracker. My agency has 2 agents, Greg Hammond and Kyle Minkler. If I needed to add an additional agent, I can do so. I just click the Add Agent button there on the right. Fill out some basic information about that person, and then they'll be granted access to CharityTracker under my agency. To the right of any agent's name, I could change a password, edit my contact information if my email address changes, or I want to upload a little picture or avatar. I can do that here by clicking Edit. Security question is used by our support team in case you ever give us a phone call and need assistance with your account. We would ask you to answer this security question. There's a few other sub-tabs here under the blue My Agency tab. We'll come back to those later, but before I move on, I did want to click on the Services tab at this time. Any services that our agency provides will be listed here under the Services tab. These services will come into play a couple times throughout our demonstration today. When we look under our Services tab, we can see our agency provides 3 services: clothing, emotional counseling, as well as utility bill assistance. These services that are listed here also appear in a shared directory, which I'll show you in just a moment, for everyone on your CharityTracker network. That way, if a client that's being served at another agency is needing clothing or emotional counseling or utility bill assistance, they could potentially refer that client to you because you provide those services. If there was a new service that your agency began providing today, we could use the Add Service button on the right to list it. Let's say that we just got donated a lot of food for our food pantry. We can set up a new service here under the Add Service screen. We select a section. Also, we can name it whatever we want. I'll just say food pantry. Then in the description box, we can get a little more detailed as to the service that we provide. When we're done, we click the Add Service button. We want to make sure this list of services is updated as often as possible by each agency on the network, so the services directory will be as up to date as possible. So just as easily as we add a new service, we can remove a service. If our food pantry is no longer available as a service that we provide, we can click the delete link to the right and remove that service just as easily as we added it. And no clients will be referred to us for food any longer because we no longer provide that service. So I would encourage you at your agency to make sure your services list is up to date and change that as needed throughout the weeks and months and year. The third tab in the top right is called Agencies. The Agencies tab is essentially your directory. It shows all the different organizations that are a part of your collaborative. If you're using CharityTracker just in-house and not connected with any other organizations, that's fine. Your list of agencies will only show your organization. These are the agencies that, when you post a bulletin, they could possibly respond to your bulletin, and they could post their own bulletins as well. Furthermore, as we'll see in detail later, any client that you work with may have been served or interacted with at any of these other agencies. So through CharityTracker, you can see past interactions with your clients at these other locations, and they can see how you've served those people in the past. Your network administrator for your network determines who has access to the system. So once a network administrator admits an agency to the network, they will be listed in this directory. If you needed to get the contact information for any agency on your network, you can just simply click the red name of the agency to learn more. There's also a black subtab there called Agents. This will show all of the staff members or volunteers that represent the agencies on your network. So if we met someone named Julie Brown at a meeting, we could type in her name or go through the alphabetical directory there and find Julie's name, what agency she belongs to, email address, and phone number for reference. Finally, the Services tab. This is that searchable services directory that I mentioned earlier. Each agency lists the services that they provide, and they all are combined together here in the Services directory. If we had a client in need of clothing, or food, or utility bill assistance, we could search here in the search bar, and it would list all of the different services provided by all the different agencies on our network. We'll see these services come into play one more time during our demonstration. Let's return to the white Home tab to come back to where we started. And now we will look at the Search and Add New Case buttons, the main two features of CharityTracker here on the left. You likely noticed that as we click through these tabs in the top right, the left side of the screen never changed. You'll still see the Search and Add New Case buttons, which are the main features of CharityTracker's case management tools, as well as a list of recent cases and recent searches that are unique to you, the CharityTracker agent. Each client that you're working with will have their own unique case file, we call it, in the CharityTracker system. If you think of it, a case file is like a file in a filing cabinet. The search button is how you search for any existing client files. If you find the person's name in the search results, you can simply click on their name to open up their case file. If you search and you don't find that person's case file, that means they haven't been entered in yet. So you'd use the Add New Case button to add in a new case for that person. Please keep in mind that when you use the Add New Case button and you're using CharityTracker in a collaborative way, a release of information form is required to be signed by the client. That client consent form we do provide to each CharityTracker network. You can choose to use our own release form, or if your agency already has some sort of client consent or release form that you use on an existing application, let's say, you can use your own release form. You're not required to use ours. Our main goal is just to make sure that the client is aware that their basic information, as well as what assistance they may have been provided, could be shared with other organizations on the CharityTracker network. At this time, I'd like to do a couple examples to show how the Search and Add New Case buttons work. Let's say we have a gentleman that came into my agency charitable organization today. His name is John Smith, and he fell on some tough times recently. He shared with me that he lost his job a couple months ago and he needed help with a utility bill that was past due. He's also seeking assistance with food from our food pantry. The first thing we do is click the search button on the left. A simple search bar will appear where you can type in John's first and last name, then press enter or click the search button out to the right. Below, you'll see your search results. Up at the top of the list, you'll always see highlighted in yellow the best possible match. At this point, we could check John's street address, date of birth, or phone number, some other identifier, just to confirm that John, who's in our agency today, matches the case found in the CharityTracker database. If you're not sure and you want to search by other identifiers, you can use the Advanced Search button over here on the right. With Advanced Search, we can search by more than one identifier. Let's use both name and date of birth in this example. Below, we will find search results matching both name and date of birth, and we do have a perfect match. At this point, we click on John's name to open up his case file. Here we have it. On the right side of John's case file, we'll see on the screen these colored tabs. Each of these colored tabs on the right side of the screen relate to the client John Smith in some way. We're going to go through each of these colored tabs quickly to show you what they're all about. Personal info. This is basically an overview for John Smith. Any basic identifying information about the client that has been recorded will be displayed on this screen. Things like street address, date of birth, phone number, even additional details like income and expense information. Demographics like gender, ethnicity, employment status, residential status, all of those can be displayed here if they're recorded when the case is entered. If any of this information needs to be updated, you can do so. At the top of the case, there's a little link that says Edit Case. When we click on Edit Case, we can make it a modification. Let's say John's phone number section only shows his home number, and he has a new cell phone number that we'd like to add. On the Edit Case screen, we'll scroll down to the phone number section, and we click the link that says Add Phone Number. Here we can record the new cell phone number and click Save Changes at the bottom. Here we have the case file's personal information section updated with the most recent cell phone number. Please keep in mind that you'll always know if a case was modified, who did it, and when that modification took place If you look underneath the History of Modification section found below, you'll see any changes. We can see the most recent modification was made by Kyle Minkler from Charitable Organization today, May 18th, and what information was added. A phone number was added and it shows cell phone 827-373-3636. The next section on the right is called Assistance. This tab displays any assistance provided to John from our organization or any other organization on our collaborative. We see on the right the number 7. That means that John or anyone in John's household have been associated with 7 assistance records in the past. The most recent of those 7 records will be there at the top. You don't have to worry about scrolling down towards the bottom to see the most recent assistance. It will always be there before your eyes. Within just a few seconds, you'll be able to determine the best way your agency can serve John. We see here that the most recent record was entered by Kyle Minkler at Charitable Organization back on April 28th. At that time, $25 was provided for the category Transportation Gasoline. There's even a description here that says John needed help getting to a job interview across town. Prior to that, Julie Brown from the Salvation Army provided 3 items of clothing back in January of this year. There's a description that says provided business casual clothes for a job interview. And we could go back in time further. Based upon what we see here, John has not been assisted with a utility bill recently. If you recall, that's the assistance that he's seeking. Based upon my agency's policies and procedures, I can then determine how I'm going to serve him. I click the Add Assistance button there at the top. The Add Assistance button is used to record a new assistance record. On the screen that appears, we'll see some fields that we need to fill out to have a very clear assistance record. Amount. How many things did we provide? In this example, we'll say he had a $300 utility bill and he was seeking assistance with half, $150. The unit in this example will be dollars, but please note that you can change this unit to anything you need. Let's say items of clothing, or gifts during the Christmas season, a referral to another organization, or boxes, bags of food, or pounds of food. I'm going to select dollars. Next, we're going to see a category that needs to be selected to best represent the service that we provided. In the drop-down list for category, we'll see all the different assistance categories that we can choose from. The categories are set up in different areas like food-related, household-related, housing, lodging, and so on. These are all completely customizable for your network. I'm going to scroll down under Utilities and we see 2 options, Utilities Paid in Full or Utilities Partial Payment. I'll select Partial Payment. Under Description, I would encourage you to put a little more detail whenever possible. This will assist any other organization working with John in determining how they can best serve. When I'm done with the description, I can see the date and time below. It will always default to today's date and time, but I could edit that here. I could also attach a file. If there was a document, maybe a scanned copy of the utility bill that we're assisting him with, or a scanned copy of the check stub, and you want to attach it, you can do so here by clicking Browse and locating the file on your computer. Finally, Visible To. There's always a setting, whenever you're adding an assistance record, to change the privacy setting based upon your discretion. We can select from Visible to All Agencies, which is the default, or Visible to My Agency, which keeps this private for just you and your staff. No other agency on your network would see that we provided $150 of assistance today. Groups are set up by your network administrator for a select group of agents in your collaborative. That allows you to share this information with just those select agents. I'm going to leave that to say Visible to All Agencies and then click Add. There we have it. The assistance record is recorded. Now, if you recall, John also was seeking assistance with food. But if we had run out of food from our food pantry, then we are unable to help John with that. If there's ever a situation there at your agency where you have a request that's made to you and you're unable to fulfill the request, you could send a person on their way, or you could use CharityTracker so that that doesn't fall through the cracks and refer that request to another agency using the Add Request Referral button. On the screen that appears, you'll see the left side looks very similar to the Add Assistant screen we saw a moment ago. We'll set up whatever the request was that was made to us. We'll say an amount of 1, the unit will be boxes, bags, and then under category, we'll select a food-related assistance category. We'll put a description in the description box, and be sure the status is set to pending. On the right side of the screen, we can look through that searchable services index we saw earlier, but it brings it right here in a convenient drop-down menu, sorted by the different sections. All of our food-related services will be listed there on the right. We can see Worldwide Love Ministries provides emergency food, Loaves and Fishes provides a food basket and a soup kitchen service, and Salvation Army provides monthly food. Based upon 2 things, you can choose the best fit for your referral. We recommend, first off, you can check any of these for the date and time that they are open, their hours of operation. We can see a summary of the agency's hours of operation. Worldwide Love Ministries is open today, so this might be a good fit. Also, we'll see the address. Where is the agency located? Based upon their hours of operation and also the location, you can then determine the best fit. When you've selected your service, at the bottom click Add Request, and that will email the agents at that agency and give them a heads up that a referral has been made to their organization. The referral looks a little different. It's highlighted in blue. The agents at Worldwide Love Ministries, because they're connected on CharityTracker, can pick up where I left off. They can update the status of the request from pending to be completed if they were able to help him, or denied if for whatever reason they were unable to help him. They can also click Add Requested Assistance to record the specific assistance that Worldwide Love Ministries provided. The next section on the right is called Relationships. Before we move on, I wanted to show you that the Assistance tab is showing not only assistance provided to John, the client we're working with, but also those people living with. There's additionally an option to include Related as well, but that's currently unchecked. The Relationships tab is how we link clients together. We know households can be very dynamic. People can move in and move out. We wanted to make it very easy for you to manage the relationship between clients. When we served John a minute ago, we actually served a household made up of 5 people. John and these 4 additional people that are living with him. His wife Mary, son named Jeffrey Smith, a daughter named Stephanie, and then also another son named Kyle. CharityTracker will give you a bird's eye view of the household as a whole, not only John, but the other household members. Now let's say John's son Jeffrey just moved out of his household, maybe he just got married and he no longer lives at this address with the rest of the family. To the right of Jeffrey's relationship, we could delete it altogether, or we could click Edit to just edit the relationship between John and Jeffrey. We can see John will always be Jeffrey's father and Jeffrey will always be his son. This could be edited if they were in a roommate relationship or something like that. You could say ex-roommate for these relationships. We won't make any adjustments to that, but what we will adjust in this situation is where it says Jeffrey is a dependent of John. That's no longer true. And both people live at the same address. That is no longer true either. This will place Jeffrey into a new household with no address. We'll now see Jeffrey is listed as related to John, here under the Related To section, no longer up above. That's how we manage relationships under a client's case. The next section on the right is Notes. Pretty straightforward. We can record a note under a client's case. Past notes will be listed here. To add a new note, we click the Add Note button there at the top. On the screen that appears, we can put in a description. Now, if we had a private conversation with John today, we might want to change the Visible To setting to say Visible To My Agency. That would essentially keep it private to me and my staff. I could attach a file or edit the date and time, but in this example, I'm just going to click Add Note. We'll see under John's Notes section that this most recent note is kind of shaded in a red color. That means that it's visible only to the agents at My Agency charitable organization. Alerts. We can record an alert under a client's case if there's something important to bring to the attention of anyone that may work with John Smith in the future. Perhaps John shares with us today that he experienced a house fire a few days ago and he's in need of a lot of help. Well, an alert could be posted on his case to notify other agents at other agencies that may work with John in the future. We click the Add Alert button there in the upper red bar. We type our alert. Below that, we can check the box that says Send Email Alert to all agencies. Unlike the bulletin posting earlier, where this checkbox is checked by default, this is unchecked by default. More often than not, you won't need to send out an email notification along with the alert, but you're more than welcome to by checking that. Once we click Add Alert, the alert gets posted to the case. Now, when anyone else goes back to John's case, whether it be an hour later, a week later, or even several months later, the red alert section will be the first section that pops up under a client's case. The agent can heed the alert or move on to another color section on the right. Finally, the outcome section. Over the years, we've always listened to feedback and have developed tools based upon that feedback to best serve our customers. The outcome section allows you to work with a client over a long-term period. You're able to set up a list of goals under a client's case and work with that person to reach those goals over time. The goals are set up in different life areas like financial, social support, career, and under each life area, there's particular goals. These goals are custom set up for each client. For John Smith, we can see under his financial section that there's 2 goals that are currently in process. He is currently participating in a financial mentoring class. We also want to work with him to reduce his expenses. That goal is currently marked as incomplete. If John came to us with a certificate saying that he's completed his financial mentoring class and also has with him a family budget that the financial mentoring class helped him create, then we need to update these goals to the appropriate status of complete. We click the Edit link for the financial section, and then we can make adjustments to the goals here. Each goal to the right has a status. The statuses for each goal can be customized for your network. There's also a due date field. The system will automatically notify a case manager of your choosing via email 5 days before that date and also on the due date itself. Each goal also has some action steps that can be created. Let's say for this financial mentoring class, John needs to complete 4 steps before we can change the status to complete. We see here that we filled out the 4 action steps for John, and then to the right of each, as each is completed, we can check the checkbox that says complete. Once all the steps have been completed, we can change the status here from currently participating to complete. Because he brought a family budget with him, the goal for reducing expenses can also be completed. When we're done updating the financial outcome goals, we'll click Save Changes at the bottom. You'll notice that the progress bar at the top moved from left to right, showing now he has completed 8 out of the 15 goals that are set up for him, 53% complete. And under the financial section, the goals that were pending are now complete. Now that concludes our look at a client's case. Another example that I'd like to illustrate is, let's say we're working with another client named Joey Yarber. Joey has come to our agency seeking assistance. The first thing we do is we click search like we always do. But this time when we search for Joey, in the search results there's no results found for that person. We may also use advanced search to narrow down by Joey's street address just to be sure that we're not duplicating that case. No results were found, so we will click the Add New Case button on the left to add a brand new case in for Joey. On the screen that appears, we'll go through the different fields and fill out as much information as we want. Information like the client's name, date of birth, street address, and as I scroll down on the screen, additional information like phone numbers can also be recorded, or identification numbers like a driver's license number. We click the Add Case button when we're done, but please note before you do, you can either click the arrow in the bottom right or scroll back up to the top and go to one of the other 2 tabs under the Add New Case screen. We have Income and Expenses and Demographics. Income and Expenses is where you can record a client's income and expense information. Up at the top, lastly, we have the Demographics tab. additional fields that can be recorded for the client: gender, race or ethnicity, education level, employment status. We can scroll down through these fields and select those that apply. Our network administrator can adjust this list to match what fields need to be reported on later. When we're done, we need to click Add Case, and that will record a new case for Joey Yarber. Now, the right side of Joey's case looks very, very similar to what we just saw a few minutes ago under John Smith's case. The next step will be to go to the relationship section on the right and record any of Joey's household members. To do that, we click the Add Relationship button or Create the First Relationship. And on the screen that appears, it will walk you through a few steps to link two cases together. The first step is we want to type in the name of the person we're about to add. This will do a quick search by clicking the search button to be sure we're not duplicating a case for Joey's wife, Becky Yarber. It says no results were found. So at this point, we would need to click Add a New Person to CharityTracker. If we did find someone named Becky, we could just click on the existing case and link the two people. This screen should look very familiar. This is our Add New Case screen. We'll now fill out as much information about Becky to complete the case. The final step is to create a relationship between Joey and Becky. Are Joey and Becky brother and sister? Are they roommates? In this situation, we will say that Joey is the husband of Becky. Becky is the wife of Joey. We do want to be sure that the checkbox next to Becky Yarber is a dependent of Joey is checked, and that they both live at the same address. Great. Now we have Joey and Becky linked together as living with one another under the Relationships tab. We could repeat this process as many times as we need to by clicking the Add Relationship button and following through those 3 steps again. The final step will be to go under Joey's Assistance section and record what assistance we provided. We click the Add Assistance button, fill out the information. We'll say we're providing $100 for Joey's rent. Down at the bottom, we click Add when we're done. Now you may notice when this new case was entered in, this yellow bar at the top of the case appears. It's reminding you about the Release of Information form. As I shared earlier, an ROI, or Release of Information form, is required. We do want to make sure that the client consents and is aware that their information will be shared across a CharityTracker network. Blank copies of that Release of Information form can be found under the Add New Case screen. And in the top right corner, there's a blue link that says Release of Information form. That will open up that blank form that can be printed out and copies can be made in a new tab or a new window. To print out the ROI, just click this Print ROI button in the top right. When we head back to Joey's case, this yellow bar shows that we have not satisfied an ROI for Joey's case. To do so, we click Create New ROI in that yellow bar. It will show today's date and any cases that are in that household. That one release form covers all household members. So Joey is the one signing the ROI today, but it would also cover Becky or any other dependents in the household. Just click Next on that screen. And here we have the release form, but this time it pre-fills it with all of the case information for Joey, and also, if I scroll down a little further, any other household members, like Becky here. This form at this point could be printed out, and in the bottom left the client would sign, and then in the bottom right, me, the agency representative, the agent that enters this into the system, would also sign in the bottom right. Once that ROI is signed, you need to keep it on file there at your agency. We require a minimum of 3 years. That's the expiration date on the release form. Of course, you can keep it longer if you want, but that's what we require in our terms of service. Now with the Plus version of CharityTracker, a digital signature can be captured on the ROI. The client can sign using a mouse or a digital signature pad that plugs into the USB port of a computer, a trackpad on a computer, even a tablet's touchscreen. Joey the client would click here in the bottom left, and then the signature would be recorded. In the bottom right of the ROI, me, Kyle Minkler, the agency representative that's entering this case in, will also need to sign in the bottom right. We need to click the Verify ROI button to save all the details about the release form and let the rest of the network know that Kyle Minkler from Charitable Organization has a release file on file for the client Joey Arbor. If I ever need to see under a client's case who got that release of information form signed and when, there's a Show ROI link at the top of any case. You could click Show ROI and it will show you the details about the release form. You could get a new release of information form renewed by clicking the Renew ROI button and follow the steps. So there we have it. Those are the main features of CharityTracker, the search and add new case buttons on the left. Barcode scanning is also a tool that's available in the Plus version. You can print client ID cards without the need to purchase expensive hardware. You can open client files with a single scan and add assistance records with a single scan. Using a scanner will help to drastically reduce the time it takes to enter data. Let's take a look at how barcode scanning works. We'll start by taking a photo for a client. Over here on the right, there's a link that says Add Photo. On the window that appears, we can choose to use my webcam or upload an image that's already saved on your computer. I'll click Use My Webcam so you can see who you've been listening to today. Next, we will print the client ID. We can do this client by client, one by one, or we can print off a batch of all of our clients in alphabetical order. We scroll down on the bottom right side of the screen to the Print ID card link. On the screen, we'll see an ID card ready to use. We can click the Print button in the top right to print out the card, or if we wanted to download an image of the card, that can be used by an ID card printer. Once the card's been printed, let's take a look at the process. Let's say a client comes to visit us and we're on the Home tab. Using the barcode scanner that's plugged into my computer, I can scan the client's ID card and it will open John's case. Now, if we have multiple clients that come to our agency, the barcode mode button on the left side of the screen can be used in these situations. But before we use barcode mode, we want to visit the blue My Agency tab to set up a list of assistance barcodes. We click on the sub-tab that says Barcodes. Here, for each type of assistance that our agency provides, we can set up a corresponding barcode. To add a new barcode, we click the Add Barcode button. Once we have all of our barcodes listed, we click the Print Barcodes button, and we can print out a list of all of these barcodes and have this sitting next to our computer, either on a bulletin board or in a binder, and we will scan each barcode depending on what type of assistance is provided to the client. We click the Barcode Mode button, and this screen shows that CharityTracker is ready for you to scan the first ID. We can do that now, and a summary of John's information is displayed on the screen. Next, using that list of barcodes, we'll scan the specific assistance that's being provided to John today. We'll say he received 1 box from our food pantry and a meal voucher. We can click the Confirm Assistance button when we're done. Now we're ready for the next client. Scan that person's ID card, and then we scan the barcode associated with the food pantry box barcode. We can click Confirm Assistance again, and then Done if we're done scanning client IDs. At this time, I'd like to take a quick look at some of the other features found under the blue My Agency tab, specifically reporting. Each organization that has access to the system can generate reports on what they've contributed to the database. My Agency Charitable Organization can go to the blue My Agency tab, click on my Report sub-tab, and see the different types of reports that I can select from. Whatever type of report that I generate, it's basically looking at a certain piece of information in the system. For example, assistance. If I wanted to run a report to show all the assistance my agency entered in for a certain time period, I would start with the assistance report. If I wanted to look at a list of all the cases that my agency has entered in, I'd use the cases report. This doesn't look at whether the case was assisted or not necessarily, it's just whether the case was entered in by my agency. No matter what type of report you choose, it's a two-step process to get the information out. Let's say we want to run an assistance report for the month of May 2016. On this first step of the two-step process, in the top right, we can choose a format for our report. There's three format types: list, table, or CSV. CSV format is like an Excel file. You could download this assistance report to your computer and open it up and work with it using Microsoft Excel or a similar spreadsheet program. Table and list are two quick, simple format types that will get you your information fast. Table is a little more condensed than list. Table is a little more printer friendly. List is a little more expanded. I'm going to select the table format for my report. Also on this first step, I have this list of filters that I can choose from. I can use one or more of these filters to narrow down my report based upon certain criteria. I'm going to use the filter by date of assistance and focus on just the month of May. I can narrow this down further by a specific assistance category. I can select just the assistance categories I wish to report on. Or, if I don't use any of the filters, it will include all categories. When we're done, we click Next. That concludes the first of the two-step process. On the second step, here at the top, we can order our assistants. We can choose oldest to newest, newest to oldest. We can even sort by a certain category of assistants. Or I like alphabetical order, which is what you have when you select case name. Below that, we have different fields that can be displayed on the final report. If you want that field to be displayed, you check the checkbox to the left of it. If you do not want it to be displayed, you can uncheck the checkbox and all corresponding data related to that field will not be displayed. If I do want a summary, I will leave it checked, and below that we have all our summary related fields that I can use my mouse to pick and choose what's going to help me the most. The assistance table section here is going to show details as to what makes up this summary section. The table will show row by row by row each assistance record. Any detail about the assistance record, again, I can pick and choose using my mouse to include or exclude certain fields. When I'm done, I'll click the View Report button at the bottom. And within just a few seconds, we'll see on the screen our assistance report for the month of May. Here at the top, we see a few things. I included the report filters, so that's displayed here at the top. Below that, we'll see the report summary section. Based upon what fields you checked on the previous screen, you'll see here under the summary those corresponding fields displayed. Some common things that you might want to see on your report summary is the total assistance dollars, also the total number of households that have been assisted, and in those households, the number of members. Above that, number of children, adults, and seniors will break down the number of members by age. Below the summary, we have our table portion. We can see, based upon the columns that are here and rows that are displayed, each assistance record that was recorded. We can see the clients we served this month included John Smith and also Joey Yarber. Any specifics about the assistants will be displayed here to the right. If I really like this assistance report, I can click Print Report up in the top right. Now, print to a printer, you could also have it print to PDF if you have a PDF printer on your computer. Or we can click Go Back. We can take that recent report, and to the right of it, there's a little link that says Add to Saved Reports. Any report that I ran, and I took the time to select and unselect certain fields and filter how I want, I can add to saved reports and it will be moved up under my saved reports section here. This will save all the reporting parameters. I can click Edit to the right, rename this Kyle's Favorite Monthly Report or something like that, and reuse this exact report each month. But what I can change is the date that it's looking at. So my May report would be exactly the same for the month of June. The only thing that would be different is I'd click Edit and change the date range for the start and end date in June. Above the tabs in the top right, there's a few buttons I'll leave you with. The invite button in the top right allows you to get the word out to other organizations in your community who may be interested in collaborating alongside you. When you click invite, put in the person's name and email address at that agency, they'll get an email invitation. They could then submit a membership request. But please note that the network administrator must approve that membership request before they can have access. The feedback button is a way for you to get a hold of us here at CharityTracker. Our support team is standing by should you be experiencing a technical issue or have a suggestion, some feedback for us, maybe a question. Go ahead and click the feedback button to connect with us. Help goes to our online learning center. I'm going to click on that now. Our online learning center has our phone number and our email address to contact our support team. You'll want the plus version of the user guide. Just click the white link that says Agent to download that user guide. Also, you can watch video tutorials here to learn more about how the system works and frequently asked questions. Contact Admin is a way for you to reach out to your network administrator directly. If you have a question or suggestion for your network admin, just click that button and that will go directly to them. Lastly, the Logout button logs you out of the system. By clicking Log Out, it brings you back to the login screen for you to access the system in the future. That concludes our demonstration of CharityTracker. Hope you found it to be helpful, and please know we're here with you every step of the way should you need any assistance.
Thanks, Kyle. If you have questions about CharityTracker or any of the features that we have just shown, please contact us at the information contained on the screen. On behalf of all of us here at Simon Solutions, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to serve.